everyone, good morning. This is your teacher for today, Teacher Shelly, for our 43rd week, day 2 of our Maritime English lesson. And this is all about, again, the part 2 is about collision, right? So, we will start in a while, but before that, we will have a recap, okay, from our lesson from last Monday, okay? So, this is the 43rd week, and here in our part 2, which is prevention, response, and communication, this section or this part, okay, focuses on the proactive measures, the tools, the decision making strategies that of course will help everyone, the crew, to avoid collision. Okay? And of course, it's at sea. Now, the collision prevention is not just following the rules. Alright? Not just following the rules. It is a continuous process, okay, of observation and of course, assessment and the timely action of the crew. Now, each crew of the bridge team plays a very important role in, of course, keeping the vessel and the crew safe, because our main goal here is the safety of everyone on board. Alright? So, alright, from the recap of our day 1, last Monday, of course, before we start for the part 2, let's just have a short recap. Okay, I know very well that you remember the different role, or the rules, I mean, on how to prevent collision. So, can you still do you still remember the rule number 5, which is the lookout? Here, we're in the crew in charge. Here is should be 100% focus of what he is doing. All right, of course, for the safety of everyone. And the rule number 6 is the safe speed, right? You have to follow that. And then, of course, the rule number 8 is the action. And also, we discussed about the different types of collisions, right? Okay, we had the head-on, the crossing, the overtaking, and the elision collisions. All right. Now, for the recap, here, for the collision at sea, okay, this is one moment. For the collision at sea, this is of course the foundation, okay, of our safety on board. All right, it will all start with the prevention. Okay, so our lesson agenda now for part 2 is, okay, the collision prevention practices. Now, as discussed last Monday, collisions are almost always due to human error, right? I mentioned that several times, that almost always due to human error. Alright. Maybe because the crew is fatigued. Alright. The crew in charge as a lookout has a very poor what to call this, involvement, all right, or simply negligence. Okay? So, in order to prevent, okay, we have to follow a strict adherence to the call regs or the collision regulations. As discussed, rule number 5 for the lookout, rule number 6 for the safe speed, and rule number 8, the action. Alright? You have to have an early, substantial, and visible action here. Okay? And, yes, communication. Very important in collision. Okay. So, next is actions during a collision. Yes, this is very important. And the post-collision procedures. What are you going to do after if there's in case a collision happens? Okay? Next is the reporting and the documentation. You have to report it right away to your master or to the person in charge, and you have to document everything. You record everything, the time it happened and the place, in what part, everything you have to have it documented. And of course, the summary and recap at the end of our lesson. Okay? So, as we begin with our collision prevention topic now, we will discuss this one by one. Okay. Collision prevention practices. Okay. Here, this highlights the proactive measures and the decisions that help mariners or the crew, of course, to avoid collisions. Okay. Now, prevention goes beyond rules. Okay? As I said, it requires a continuous observation, the assessment, and the timely action. So everyone on the bridge or the bridge team member should contribute and should help each other to keep the vessel and the crew safe. Okay? So, how are we going to maintain the speed now? Okay. Through this, okay, the early detection is the first line of defense here. Okay, against collision risk. Okay? So, you have to maintain the safe speed. You have to move slow enough, of course, to react and stop in time to avoid collision. You have to have a safe speed. Alright? Now, there are several factors affecting safe speed. Okay. Now, it includes the traffic density. If ever there is a traffic, a clog on the area, okay, you have to have a safe speed. You have to maintain this. Alright. Now, next, the weather and the visibility. You follow this one, the safe speed here. Okay? And then, the state of sea and wind. Yes, you have to watch this. You have to keep track of this. Okay? And then, we have the proximity to navigation hazards. Proximity to navigational hazards. And then, the type and maneuverability of the vessel. Okay? You have to follow a safe speed here. And performance limitations of radar and equipment. So, maintaining the safe speed ensures the ship, okay, to have a room to maneuver. And then you can react right away, no, to unexpected events. And of course, as I said, the rule number 6. Okay? So, safe speed. Okay. Now, next. Okay. The role of early detection. Of course, the role of early detection is the first line of defense. Okay? Against collision risk. Now, here, for early detection, once you discovered that something or there's another vessel or a floating object or any hazards that gives the bridge team that gives the bridge team a doubtful situation, okay, you have to evaluate it right away. The master, the lookout, okay, officer and the officer of the watch, okay, you have to evaluate what is that, okay, to prevent, okay, risk, collision risk, okay. So here, normally early detection, you can see this through your radar, your AIS, okay, through your binoculars, or sometimes for the sound signals. So you have to pay attention to that, okay, to prevent collision risk. Okay, so for our proper lookout, yes, okay, here for the proper lookout, it's a human lookout, okay. This one is required at all times, using your sight, of course, by using your binoculars. You have to listen for any sound, okay, and any other available means for the human lookout for the assigned human lookout, okay. He must be alert, okay, he must focus, especially during night navigation, and especially if there's heavy traffic or restricted visibility, okay. Now, it says here that human senses detect cues, okay, that equipment may miss, okay, such as the lights, visual signals, or small uncharted objects. Do not, okay, everyone listen, do not purely rely on the equipments. You have to use your senses also here if you are the human lookout, not purely relying on the equipment, because sometimes there are errors that the equipment will give you, sometimes. So the radar, if it happens to be you are doubtful, you use your senses, you use binoculars, okay. So the examples of the equipment lookout are the radar, AIS, the FDs, the night vision devices, the CCTVs that will only support the human lookout. Do not purely rely with your equipment. It only helps detect hazards during poor visibility. So, the combination of a human lookout and the equipment lookout is the best foundation for prevention of collision. Okay? So, Here, the correct use of radar and ARPA. These are equipments. Okay? So, the correct use includes the set or setting the range scales. Whether it's a long range for early detection and for the short range is for close monitoring. Okay, you have to set the appropriate range scale. Next is adjust gain. See clutter and rain clutter. Okay, to avoid missing the target. Okay, you have to adjust. Now here for the CPA and the TCPA, CPA means closest point of approach. And the other one, the TCPA, is the time to the closest point approach. Okay? You have to regularly check this one. Okay. Now next, the correct use of this is to verify the ARPA, both visually and through the system. Okay? You have to verify that. But do not purely or never rely on ARPA alone. No. It should be with your visual observation also. Okay. Now, next, the last equipment is you have to acquire or acquiring and tracking targets. Okay? You have to ensure that it is correctly acquiring and tracking targets. So, the proper use of this all systems gives the officer of watch real-time information to take timely and substantial action. Okay? So, that's in that way, the correct use of all this, of course, we can prevent collision. Right? So, okay. How to avoid? Okay. How to avoid collision? Okay. Here, okay, distractions are, of course, a major factor in maritime accidents. It's really given. Distractions. That is a major factor in maritime accidents. So, how are we going to avoid that? Okay. So later, I will discuss it one by one. Let's go first. Let's go to the distractions. What are those? Number one is using mobile phones. Excuse me. Using mobile phones. Really, everyone now is using a mobile phone. Okay? So, even in the office, even if you're on board, even everywhere on the streets, even if you're driving, we use mobile phones. And nowadays, almost all the vessels have internet connections. Right? So, this is one of the distractions. Only one of the causes of maritime accidents. Alright, using mobile phones. Next is the non-essential, conversations. Unnecessary talking during break times. Alright? Okay? Non-essential conversations. So, there's no focus. Third is the over-reliance on automation. you purely rely, or maybe you or everyone depends too much on the equipment. Okay? And this one can cause errors once there's a system failure. Okay? So, this is really true. The over-reliance and automation. So, do not purely rely 100% of the system you're using on the equipment. And next is the fatigue. Okay? Tired crew have of course, they have a slower reactions and poorer judgment. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes, but most of the time. Okay, excuse. The poorly managed task workload. Here, it's too many tasks, or maybe there are poor tasks. Distribution, of course, leads to missed hazards. So when distracted by all of this, okay, situational awareness decreases. Of course, it's true. Now, the awareness decreases if all of this is included. The risk of missing important important duties increase the risk, right? So, meaning your situational awareness decreases, but the risk increases. Okay? So, the officer of watch must maintain a full attention on navigation, especially in high-risk areas. Alright? So, let's move on. Okay. The situational awareness techniques. Okay. The continuous scanning. Okay. So, here, in situational awareness techniques, it means that understanding what is happening around you. Okay? What it means and what may happen next. So, the techniques includes continuous scanning. Okay? The cross-checking visual radar and AIS data. Okay? So, all of this is a good situational awareness that will lead to faster recognition of developing risks. Okay? So all of this, okay? All of this leads to a faster recognition of developing the risks. Okay? So, next. Okay. When we say team briefings, okay, so, for the team briefings, it ensures that all the bridge team, like the master, the lookout, and the officer of watch, share the same understandings, okay, of the navigation situation. That's what we call team briefings. So, during the briefings, the master and the lookout, the master, or the officer of watch and the lookout discusses about the present conditions of the weather. Whether the weather is bad, whether there's heavy traffic, or there's a poor visibility. And then, both, or the team briefings, or the bridge team should plan the course of alteration for in case there is a weather disturbance here, whether there's a traffic congestions here, whether there's a poor visibility here. You have to plan the course alterations, which way you're going. Okay? And then, next is you have to discuss about the areas of concern or the high-risk zones. Right? And then, the responsibilities of each team member. Okay? And you expect communication phrases. Okay? So, here, in team briefings, okay, promoting teamwork, you reduce confusion. Because you're discussing, you're planning. And also, during team briefings, you help everyone stay aligned in preventing collision. Right? So, for excuse me, the decision making under pressure topic. Okay. Here in the decision making, all right, navigational decisions often need to be made quickly. Okay? Especially in close quarter situations or emergency cases. The master should have a firm decision making, especially under pressure. Okay, how you are going to be effective in this? You stay calm and focus. Okay? Calm and focus. You use the call regs as the foundation of action, right? Call regs. Collision regulations. Follow. And then, you evaluate alternatives based on risks. Okay? Excuse me. Avoiding small or half-hearted maneuvers. Okay? And then you communicate decisions clearly to the team. And then you apply judgment based on training and experience. Alright? So, incorrect decisions made under stress can accelerate collision risk, or there's a big possibility of collision risk. So the skill and the discipline are essential. Skill and the discipline, training and experience are essential. Okay? So, if you follow this, of course, we can prevent collision. Okay? Now, there are key phrases. Okay. These phrases reflects a core principle from Call Reg 8, Rule 8. Okay. This is our vocabulary words number 1. So, I'm sorry. Okay. Early. You act immediately once risk of collision is detected. Yes. You have to act right away. Immediate. Okay? So, next is substantial. You have to make a clear, noticeable maneuver that shows your intention. Okay? Next is avoid small or delayed actions. Through here, it creates confusion. And it increases the danger. So you have to avoid that. Okay? Even if it's only a small delayed actions. Okay? So, follow Call Reg number 8. the action must be safe. It should be effective. It should be compliant with the rules. So here, you have to act promptly. Okay? You have to act clearly. And then you have to follow the call regs. Number 8. To prevent confusion. Of course, to make sure the safe collision avoidance. So it says here that take early and substantial action. Alright? So let's move on to our next topic, which is about communication in collision situations. Okay. Here, maritime English plays a vital role in ensuring that ships often with multinational crews, okay, and can exchange information quickly and accurately, of course, especially during close quarter situations. Okay, so communication here during collision. During collision must be, one is you have to be accurate. It should be correct, it should be precise, and it should be free from errors. Okay? Communication also during collision must be unambiguous, or it should be clear and direct. Okay? It should not be open to multiple interpretations. No? So, also, communication during collision risk excuse me, must be standardized. You follow the agreed upon format or wordings used globally, and then it should be easily understood by non-native English speakers, no? It should be simple, it should be clear language. That, of course, the crew have different countries, no? So you can understand without confusion. Now here we'll learn about the standard marine communication phrases, right? Can you still recall the SMCPs? Okay, and then the English clarity in radio communication. It should be clear, no? The VHF radio procedures, okay? The confirming messages, okay? Like, for example, if you did not clearly understand the language, okay, you can say that, you can say again, please, okay? And then the reporting near missed situations, okay? The miscommunication and its consequences. So, good communication here enhances a situational awareness, and it helps avoid dangerous misunderstandings. So, communication is a big factor also to avoid collision. Alright? So the standard marine communication phrases, as we all know, this is the IMO approved set of standard phrases used to prevent miscommunication at sea. Okay? So, these phrases are designed to promote clarity. Of course, to reduce ambiguity. And it makes sure that international understanding is a factor, and it provides a predefined expressions for critical situations. Okay? Now, for SMCP, it covers ship handling orders. It covers collision avoidance messages. SMCP covers emergency phrases. And of course, the distress, the urgency, and safety communication. So using the SMCP ensures that all the crew, regardless of nationality, understand essential instructions. Okay? Whatever, wherever, regardless of the nationality, the crew, all the crew should understand essential instructions. Excuse me. Okay. So we have here example. Alright. Example for ship handling. Let's say I am altering my course to starboard. Okay? This is the direction of alteration, the starboard. What is your intention? Okay? And what it helps other ships predict your movement. And it helps other ships predict your movement. Okay? Here, avoids confusion. And it supports the call reg rule number 8 by making actions, okay, apparent and substantial. Okay, that is an example of ship handling. Okay, so next example. If you happen to hear the keep clear of me, okay, this is a direct instruction used when there is immediate risk of close quarter situation, or there's another vessel is taking unsafe action. And lastly, you need to assert your navigational status. Example, you are already restricted in the inability to maneuver. So, the basic you can hear with all these situations is keep clear of me. Okay? It is strong but necessary in dangerous situation. Okay? Often supported by strong signals. Horn signals. Supported by AIS already messaging you. The radar plotting and the VHF radio communication. So, in this sample of phrases, I am altering my course to starboard, or keep clear of me, helps avoid collision by giving the other vessel a clear and urgent directive. Okay? That is why communication has a big role in listening. Alright? So, the English clarity in radio communication. it can be, the VHS can be degraded by strong accents. Yes, because every nationality have different accents. Okay? The background noise. Okay? The radio interference. And the panic or the stress. That is why you have to speak slowly and distinctly. Avoid long sentences. And then, you use the IMO standard vocabulary. And then, whenever possible, you spell out unclear words using phonetic alphabet. Like, very common, I know everyone knows this, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot. Those are the how you are going to spell out unclear words. Alright? Now, clear English prevents misunderstandings and prevents escalation of risk. Okay? So, you have to speak clearly and distinctly. Okay? Avoid long sentences. Okay? Your strong accents. You spell out the words. You spell out the unclear words using the phonetic alphabet. Okay? So, for our VHF radio procedures, okay, this is essential in collision situations. So, number 1 is using channel 16. Of course, for calling and distress. Okay. Because channel 16 is the primary frequency for hailing and emergencies, right? Channel 16. Next is, you have to switch to a working channel. Once contact is established, you move to another channel to keep channel 16 clear. Okay? Channel 16 is only used for calling, and once you were able to reach out to the other vessel, you switch now to a working channel to keep the channel 16 clear. And then you identify your ship clearly. State your vessel's name, details to avoid confusion. And then you keep the messages brief and relevant. As mentioned, it should be short but clear. Okay? You have to avoid unnecessary chatter. Okay? To prevent congestion of the channels. Okay? And in order for the channel to be available for important traffic. Okay? And then you confirm information before before acting to ensure the instructions are correct to avoid mistakes. Okay? So, the proper VHF etiquette reduces confusion, especially in congested waters or restricted visibility. Okay? Now, confirming messages. Okay, as an example, okay, confirming messages. Like, it's not clear on your part. You can say it. You can say again, please. Okay? This is the standard request, no? When a message wasn't clear. Okay? A part of the transmission was lost. And, yeah, words were unclear. Maybe because of the accents. Right? So, now the phrases, other phrases, you can hear, please confirm your last message. Right? That's one of the messages. I did not understand. Say again. That's also an example. Or, if the other party or if the other vessel, okay, the words were unclear, you can say, repeat your position. Okay? So, confirmation ensures that the information received of the other party before they will take action. Okay? So, you can use say again, please, if this one, and this one are not clear. And also, you can also confirm this. Please confirm your last message. Okay, I did not understand. Say it again. Repeat your position. Okay? So, that's how you are going to confirm your excuse me, communication. Okay? So, confirming or reporting near-miss situation. Alright. Near-miss situation. A near-miss situation is where collision almost occurred, okay, but was avoided. Okay, how are you going to report that? Okay, and you have to report that because it helps identify risks and recurring problems. You have to report that because it enhances the safety culture and it allows the companies to improve training and procedures. Also, prevents similar future events. Okay, but the reports usually include time and location. Here, you have to record the exact date, the time, the location where the near miss occurred. Okay? Next, you have to report the weather and visibility. Note that the environmental conditions such as the visibility, the wind, the sea, okay, and any other relevant weather factors should be reported. And of course, what happened? Okay? You have to report what happened. You have to describe the sequence of events clearly here and objectively. You will not just log in the time and the location, the weather, but you have to report also. You have to describe the sequence of events. Okay? And, of course, what caused the near miss. You have to identify the factors or the actions that contributed to the incident. You have to describe. Okay? And then, what are the corrective actions taken? Here, the document immediate responses and measures should be implemented to prevent recurrence. Okay? So, basically, good reporting strengthens the fleet-wide safety standards. Alright? So, miscommunications and its consequences. Okay, many crew or maritime accidents results not from equipment failure. Again, not from equipment failure, but human error. Especially, okay, the common cause is poor English proficiency. Alright? Incorrect phraseology. The incomplete messages. The failure to confirm instructions. And the assumptions instead of verifications. Excuse me. Alright? So, as I said, it's not commonly from equipment failure, but it's human error. These are the common causes. And also may include close quarter situations, collisions, groundings, loss of cargo or life, and legal and financial penalties. So, if it happens that miscommunication here, the consequences of that may be or may include close encounters. Right? The collision because of miscommunication. The groundings, maybe loss of cargo and life. And worst, and lastly, the legal financial penalties. So, good communication can break the chain of error. Alright? And it prevents disaster. For our new phrases or key phrases, we have intention, what you plan or what you want to do, what you plan or what you want to do, to change your ship's direction, alter course, maintain course and speed, continue the same direction and speed, and then Roger, message received and understood. So all these are very common phrases. Okay? Now, for the actions during collision, here, this is here the crew members must respond quickly. Okay? And maintain your composure. And then you follow the established procedures. Of course, to ensure the safety. And then minimize the damage. And of course, to protect the lives. Okay. Now, for collision, for a collision is a high-risk emergency, it requires quick response, organized teamwork, clear communication, and strict adherence procedures. So here in this section, it covers the immediate actions that the crew and the bridge team must take. Alright? If a collision occurs, yes, you have to be quick in response. You have to be organized. You have to have a organized teamwork, clear communication, and strict adherence to safety measures. Now, so what are you going to do during collision? As I said, listen, hearing, sound the alarm. You inform the bridge team and the master immediately. You stop the engines if required. You have to close the watertight doors. You have to check for injuries. You assess the damage and the flooding inside. You have to keep the logbook entries and report to authorities. Okay, when you sound the alarm, okay, the first emergency is that sounding the alarm. So, all crew members, okay, with an emergency situation, should be alert. Alright? They should be alert. Alright. So, next is, you inform the master immediately. That's an SOP. You have to inform your master and the officer of the watch. Okay. And then, you stop the engine if it requires. Okay? And then, you have to close the watertight doors. Yes, you have to. If necessary. Okay. And then, you check for injuries. Yes. Because, maybe, because of the very strong impact, someone fell. And then, there's a broken bones. Or there's a cuts and bruises. There's head injuries or burns. Alright? So, you have to check that. Alright? And then, you assess the damage and the flooding if there is. Sounding pipes. Yeah. The water level indicators, you have to check that. The CCTVs, the bilge alarms, and the visual inspection is very important. So through this assessment, it guides further actions such as the pumping out of water, if there's a flooding, okay? So that you can prepare for evacuation. And then, we have to keep the logbook entries. Yes, we have to. The officer of the watch must ensure that the entries are precise and complete. All this. Alright? Now, for reporting to authorities, this is also very important. Okay? You have to report. And this includes all this. You have to identify the ship, the collision details, the position where it happened, the damage assessment, injuries if there is, or pollution, and the assistance required. Alright? Because the timely reporting of this is important or is required, of course, for international regulations like the SOLAS or the MARPOL. Because what if there's a pollution? What if there's a oil spill? Right? So you have to report that right away to the authorities. Alright. Next is the key phrases, what we've learned, what are the phrases used by SMCPs? Of course, the injuries, physical harm or damage to a person, the damage, harm, or destruction to a part of the ship. Avoid small or delayed actions. I'm sorry. Avoid small or delayed actions. So these create confusion and increase in danger. And then the position, the exact location of the vessel, latitude or the longitude. Alright? So, we have here the post-collision procedures. For post-collision procedures, this is the priority, or the priority of this is to secure the vessel, to make sure that the safety of all crew or the crew members, and then you record all relevant details for, of course, reporting the future prevention. Alright? So, after the collision, it is necessary that the actions after the immediate collision is reported, right? So once the situation on board is brought under control, the crew must follow a structured post-collision procedure to make sure the safety of all personnel, the stability and integrity of the vessel, alright, the compliance with legal requirements, the accurate reporting and documentation, and the proper coordination with other vessel involved. So, through these steps, it helps prevent further damage. It avoids escalation. And, of course, to support investigations. Okay? So, now for after collision, also, there's an essential thing to follow. A sequenced or a structured sequence of actions to ensure, of course, the safety of the crew, to assess and control the damage, and then communicate effectively, okay, and properly document the incident. So each step here, alright, each step here, okay, should be followed, strictly followed. So from immediate safety check, you account for all crew, the damage assessment, communication with other vessel, you exchange of information, perseverance of evidence, preservation of evidence, recording of the event, the preparation of the collision report. This one helps stabilize, okay, the situation and preserve the crucial information. Alright? So, what are the immediate safety check? Okay, for here, after the collision impact has established, the priority is to ensure that the ship is safe to operate. Okay? So, this includes all of this. Alright? You confirm that there's no ongoing fire, flooding, or fuel leak. You verify that the machinery and propulsion systems are operating normally. You check the stability indicators like the ballast tanks, the watertight integrity, okay? Make sure that navigational equipment is still functioning. And you monitor the environmental hazards such as the oil spills. So after the collision, all of these are the immediate safety check. Alright? So, you have to account for all crew. Okay? Account for all crew. So, of course, the accurate accounting ensures that no one is left or trapped or unreported. The crew is given a medical treatment. Okay? The crew readiness for further instructions is confirmed. So you have to account for all crew. If they are all present, no one is trapped. Okay? So, next is the key steps. The key steps is to inspect the hull. Okay? If there's damage from the bow to the stern to the sides. Check for cracks, of course. Deformations. You have to inspect the tank's compartment or the engine room. You monitor the water ingress or rising bilge levels. You assess if there's structural, electrical, and mechanical damage. And you evaluate the steering gear and the propulsion condition. And these key steps, okay, is usually conducted by the master, the chief officer, the chief engineer, and the damage control team. Alright? So, that's after the collision. Alright. Here, about the communication with other vessels. Yes, as I said earlier, VHF, okay, is important. Alright. Next is the exchange of information. Here. For the exchange of information, this is an international maritime law requirement that the vessels involved in a collision is to exchange information. Okay? You exchange information. And all the informations must be accurate and recorded properly. Okay? So, these are all the details. Okay? So, for our preservation of evidence, right? So, there's an exchange of infos, no? From one vessel to the other vessel. Okay. How are we going to preserve the evidence? Okay. You have to secure and back up the VDR data immediately. Yes, the voyage data recorder. That's the VDR. Okay? So all this is a way for the proper preservation of evidence to protect the crew and the company from incorrect liability. Alright? Now, so in recording the event, although accurate and thorough, although there's an accurate and thorough documentation, it must be completed with the records. Alright? With all these records. Okay? So, well-recorded events, again, protect the vessel and demonstrate professionalism and compliance. Okay? So, in preparing a collision report, how are we going to prepare collision report? So, after the collision, Okay? You have to prepare a collision report. This is a formal document. Now, detailing the incident. So, it is essential for the legal, for the regulatory, and safety purposes. So, it includes all this. Okay? All this. Okay. Now, for our key phrases, like what is a bilge? This is the lowest part of the ship's interior where water can collect, monitored to prevent flooding. The VDR, the voyage data recorder, that is a device that records navigational and operational data for investigation purposes. Okay, after the incident. And the watertight integrity is the condition of the ship's compartments. Okay, that is being sealed to prevent water ingress. Okay, and when we say evidence, this is a record, or this is a recorded or the physical data, like the VDR, the voyage data recorder, the photos, the logbooks, that is used to verify events after the collision. Alright? So, reporting and documentation, this is a clear and accurate reporting. Okay? So, everyone should be informed, and it ensures the safety and maintains the accountability on board. Okay? So, for our collision reporting, here, it is a formal process of documenting an incident. Of course, for regulatory purposes. And then the investigations. And then the clear chain of communication. Now, who reports the incident? Of course, the master. Because the master is the ultimate responsible for all the collision report. He is responsible to that. It should be prompt, it should be accurate and truthful. And the format. Okay, and for the format of the report, the standard collision report should be structured, no? It should be concise, it should be clear, okay? And the common sections include all this. Okay, all this. So, for the required details of the collision report, okay, you must report, yes, the time, what are the damages, the place, the actions taken, okay? So you have to have all this. It is a must. Okay? Now, for the master statement, when we say master statement, for example, the master provides a personal account of the incident. Okay? It should include everything. The example to this is at 1432 UTC, while proceeding at slow speed, in restricted visibility, the vessel collided with an unidentified object. Engines were stopped immediately, watertight doors closed, and crew accounted for. Alright? That is how the master statement will flow. And the logbook entries, again, the time, it should be precise, it should be factual. And then, okay, another phrases for the report. Yes, that is the formal written or oral account of an event. The assessment. The process of evaluating or examining damage risks or conditions. The confirmation is the verification that a damage has been received and understood. And then the statement of the master. Alright? That's the 1, 2, 3, 4 phrases. Alright. For the summary and recap of our lesson, okay, in this section, in this part, no, part 2, it wraps up the entire collision, prevention, and response lesson. So, it highlights the key takeaways, no? So, it reinforces essential maritime procedures, alright? Everything, the summary and recap. Okay. The collision prevention key, alright? That one. So, the importance of English communication. Okay? And then we have the correct calm reporting. Right? And then we have the bridge team. We have the bridge team cooperation. Alright? And then we have the compliance with call regs, of course. And then we have the safety and stability. Safety and responsibility. Alright? So, for our Q&A now, so let's have a quiz. So, it says here that what is the primary purpose of early detection in collision prevention? Okay? So, what is the correct answer for that? Alright, it's to give more time to evaluate and take safe action. So, safety begins with awareness. Alright? So, number 2, which of the following is an example of a standard marine communication phrase, SMCP? Alright. So, what is that? What is the correct answer for number 2? It's, I am telling my course to starboard. Starboard is the right side. That is an example of an SMCP. Okay? Starboard. And then, we also have number 3, during a collision, what is the first action the crew should take? Of course, the correct answer is sound the alarm. Okay, sound the alarm right away. And then for number 4, why is maintaining situational awareness important to the bridge? Yes, what is the correct answer for number 4? It's letter D. To anticipate developing situations and cross-check all data. Yes, it's true. For number 5, what phrase should be used to confirm a message that was not clearly heard? Oh, very simple. It's say again, please. Alright. That's the phrase you should use to confirm a message that was not clear. Okay? So, next, for number 6, which of the following is required in a collision report? So, which of the following is required in a collision report? It is ship's name, time, position, and actions taken. Yes, that's very important. And for number 7, when reporting a collision, using proper maritime English, which sentence is correct. Alright. So, which sentence is correct? The vessel was proceeding at slow speed. Okay? When reporting a collision using proper maritime English, which sentence is correct? The vessel was proceeding at low speed. Okay, next. What is the key? What is the key phrase that summarizes the required action to avoid collision? Alright, is it A, B, C, or D? It's take early and substantial action. That is the key phrase that summarizes the required action to avoid collision. Take early and substantial actions. Now, who is primarily responsible for reporting a collision to authorities? Of course, very easy. The overall command should be coming from the master. Alright? It's still the master. Okay. So, for number 10, what is the main message emphasized in the final review of collision prevention lessons? Okay, what is that? Alright, it's safety begins with awareness. Yes, safety begins with awareness. And also, the prevention. Alright. Yes, safety begins with awareness. Okay. Oh, we're done. So, we're done with our lesson about collision. So, I hope everyone had a chance to review the lesson from our last week. Last Monday, and now the continuation. So, since collision is very important to our maritime English topic, it should be emphasized to ourselves that safety is still our main concern. So, I have to pause here, and for our next lesson, a week after today, it's still all about the drill, okay? Different drills. So, I'll see you all on our 45th week to continue with our maritime English lesson. Okay? So, I'll say goodbye for now, and I'll see you all next week. Alright? Bye everyone. Have a good day and study. Alright? Bye.